What do you know about human rights? Do you know that they are strongly linked with HIV and AIDS? Hello and welcome to another episode of The Last Mile with Naka. I am Adesu Alsui. As you will get to understand later in the episode, human rights violation in the context of HIV can worsen the impact of HIV, increase vulnerability to HIV, and more broadly, undermine responses to the epidemic. You're watching The Last Mile with Naka. Don't go away.
As defined by the United Nations, human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. Human rights and HIV are intimately linked, in that human rights abuses are one of the drivers of the HIV epidemic and increases its impact. At the same time, HIV undermines progress in the realization of human rights.
Lawyers Alert is a legal and human rights organization that works principally on health rights. And not just on health rights as it was, but health rights on some sort of issues that affect the vulnerable in our society. So for example, it could be health rights with regard to HIV or health rights with regard to TB, etc. So HIV and human rights it's very intricate, and we need to understand this from two basic words: stigma and discrimination. These are human rights issues all day. And as we know, HIV, owing to lack of awareness, as it was in the past, that is beginning to recede gradually, but discrimination still persists. Now, what is stigma? Stigma is that issue where you begin to look at someone differently with some sort of bias just because he or she has a certain state, in this instance, HIV. And what comes out of that is begin to treat the person differently than others.
As the name says, Human Rights Commission, our mandate here is to promote and protect the human rights of every human being living in Nigeria, whether it's a foreigner or whether it's a Nigerian. As long as it's within the territory of Nigeria, we have the mandate to protect the person's right. Of course, right to health is one of the economic, social, and cultural rights. And so basically everybody is entitled to right to health. So if there's anything impeding the protection of the right to health, that thing should be dealt with. Now, the greatest challenge for anybody living with HIV and AIDS is the issue of discrimination and stigmatization, in that it impedes access to medication or antiretroviral drugs which the patients can get. So human rights are the core of dealing with the issue of conquering HIV and AIDS.
Human rights violations in the context of HIV manifests in the family, workplace, and healthcare settings.
Lawyers Alert has handled cases where students were denied admission just because of their status. Lawyers Alert has handled cases where students were expelled from the hostel just because they were discovered to be positive. Lawyers Alert has handled cases where teachers have been expelled from school, and all of that. All these things are discriminatory and is an assault on this person's human rights, because it undignifies them. It makes them lose some sense of self-worth and value. And everybody should be treated with dignity. Everybody should be treated equally, irrespective of their sex, age, and where they come from. So all these are human rights issues that are associated with HIV. Again, the issue of testing. Persons could come for a job and you say, go and carry out tests on this person in terms of general health checks. And then you secretly talk in that issue of HIV without their consent. And we know that health and information as regards to health is someone who has it, the responsibility of that person. Is that person's property. You can't steal it. So when you begin to carry out this processes of getting information from them without their consent, you are stealing it.
Then in the communities at times also, some of them are ostracized. Some of them are, maybe their family members don't want to deal with them again. They leave them in isolation, or the burden from attending some public functions and so on and so forth. So discrimination or stigmatization in the community is very, very injurious, and is a denial of the right, because you're not supposed to be discriminated against under the Constitution. It's against the Constitution to discriminate or stigmatize against anybody, And everybody has a right to access to work, access to health, access to dignity of the human person. You don't have to treat the person like a leper. You don't have to treat the person without respecting the person's dignity. So these are some of the things we fight against. Uniting with people living with HIV and AIDS and with NACA.
Realizing the damage human rights abuse can cause to progress made in the national HIV response, the federal government passed the Anti-Discrimination Act.
In 2014, the HIV and AIDS Anti-Discrimination Act was passed into law. And basically, that act provided to protect the dignity and safeguard the rights of people living with and those affected by HIV and AIDS. And for penalties, the Act also provides for jail time. It also provides for fines, and in some instances, both fines and jail time. And these apply not just to offending individuals, but also even to organizations that might be found wanting in accordance to the Anti-Discrimination Act. And one of the things NACA intends to do going forward is also to commence trainings for lawyers and also for judges, so that they are aware that this law is out there, they are aware of the provisions, and so that when such cases come before them, maybe in their courts, or when lawyers are approached by clients concerning such issues, they are already aware that such things exist, and it will be easier for them to prosecute such cases and get redress.
Ade Ayobi highlighted some key provisions of the Anti-Discrimination Act.
HIV testing is not a prerequisite for employment. And what this speaks to is the fact that your HIV status, perceived or known, should not be a reason why you should not get employment. No employer has the right to mandate that you take a HIV test before you are given employment. This also applies to schools, educational institutions, higher institutions, universities. You cannot be denied admission into the university because of your HIV status. You cannot be terminated while at work if during the course of your employment your HIV status is now known. These are all infringements on the rights of people living with HIV and AIDS. It also makes provision for issues surrounding confidentiality of medical records, of your status. Your status is your personal business, and no one has the right to disclose your status to anyone unless maybe you have given consent to that person, maybe in writing or orally, to do that. But if you have not, no one has the right to disclose your status to anyone. Other provisions of the Act concerning reasonable accommodation, which means that when you, for instance, work at an organization and your status is probably known by your employer, he has a responsibility to ensure that you are comfortable, you are reasonably accommodated in that environment. He shouldn't create a hostile environment just because he feels you are HIV positive, or he feels you are a threat to other employees. This would amount to discrimination, and of course that person could be stigmatized.
The agency did not stop at facilitating the enactment of the Act, but is also collaborating with relevant stakeholders to provide services to affected clients as well as ensure compliance.
There are also other steps the agency has taken. One of such would be the establishment of an organization called COLAHA, which was in collaboration with UNAIDS, Lawyers Alert, the National Human Rights Commission, Legal Aid Council, and NACA, the NBA. We all came together and created this body of lawyers nationwide that render pro bono services for people living with HIV and AIDS, and also for the protection of their rights and to seek redress in the court of law. Last year, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Human Rights Commission, which strengthened the bond we have with that agency that also has a structure to protect and has the mandate even of the government to protect the rights of Nigerians. And the collaboration we got into with them is so that when such acts of discrimination or stigma come up, as a sister body, they have the mandate to take them up in court and provide services to people that require them.
NACA is doing an excellent work in this country, especially under the present leadership. NACA has always collaborated with the Commission, but at this point in time, the collaboration is at its peak because we are able to formalize our relationship in a memorandum of understanding whereby NACA front-loads all human rights cases that it comes across in its own work, knowing that we are the agency squarely established for the promotion and protection of all human beings, including people living with HIV and AIDS. And I am happy to say that NACA itself has reported some cases to us of people who were being discriminated against or stigmatized as a result of their status, and the commission went into work and were able to restore those persons' rights. In fact, I remember the DG of NACA wrote to me to congratulate us, to thank us for playing that role.
NACA is also collaborating with the U.S. Presidential Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, to enlighten and train individuals and organizations across the country on the provision of the Anti-Discrimination Act.
We've also been working with PEPFAR, and they've come up, along with other stakeholders, with a curriculum for people living with HIV and AIDS, which has encapsulated the A to Z of what HIV is, starting with basics as simple as what is AIDS, what is HIV, to issues on prevention, on treatment, on adherence, and a particular section of that curriculum, which is relevant to what we're discussing now, is on HIV and human rights. And it brings to detail some of the provisions of the Anti-Discrimination Act, and also lays emphasis on the Patient Bill of Rights. And the intention is to ensure that Nigerians are aware of their rights, firstly, even as patients and as Nigerians, and then also particularly with the Anti-Discrimination Act, people living with HIV and AIDS. So that initiative of PEPFAR started last year, and it's still ongoing. People are being trained across the country on the curriculum, and we are hoping that it will trickle down to all nooks and crannies of the country.
The protection of human rights is essential to safeguard human dignity in the context of HIV and AIDS and to ensure an effective rights-based response.
It's important to let Nigerians know that it's not business as usual, because as far as the Human Rights Commission is concerned, if your rights are violated and you are discriminated against or stigmatized and you're a person living with HIV and AIDS, please come and report to the National Human Rights Commission. We'll work with you, we'll support you, we'll collaborate with you to make sure that justice is done, to make sure that there's prosecution, to make sure that anybody who does this is brought to book. So come to us and we'll work with NACA and other agencies to make sure that their rights is respected.
So NACA has a helpline, 6222, that's 6222. It's toll-free except for glow lines, and you can call in to report cases of discrimination or stigma. You can also approach our offices. We also have zonal offices spread across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. You could come to the head office and make your complaints known. And once you do that, definitely NACA will take up such a matter to the end. We would ensure that stakeholders who need to be involved are involved, like the National Human Rights Commission, the Legal Aid Council, Lawyers Alert, and will provide even pro bono services where necessary.
When human rights are protected, fewer people become infected, and those living with HIV and AIDS and their families can better cope with HIV and AIDS.
What we want people to know is that there is an act against HIV, stigma, and discrimination. And the act has 2 components. There is the jail component, there is the fine component of it. So it can be both, actually, depending on the gravity. People with HIV live normal life. They work as productive as any member of the community. And among them are intelligent people, hardworking people. Why should we discriminate against them? If we stigmatize people and we discriminate, it puts them away from our hospitals. It prevents them from coming to our facility to know their status. It prevents them from coming to our facilities to take these medications that are very helpful. So stigma is a #1 enemy for us in fighting HIV disease and in controlling HIV disease. And we will be all out against it.
This HIV self-test kit has been certified safe and effective by the WHO, Federal Ministry of Health and NACA. For more inquiries, call the NACA Information Center free of charge on 6222. Do not eat, drink or use mouth cleaning products 30 minutes before the test. Find somewhere private with good light and a flat surface. The kit includes instruction leaflets that should be read carefully, a test stand and a sealed package containing a test device, developer tube and preservative used for storage only. This is not needed for the test. Open the test tube and place it in the test stand. Grab the test device by the handle. Do not touch the flat pad. Apply moderate pressure while swabbing the flat pad once along your upper gum and once along the lower gum. Immediately put the test device in the developer tube. Leave it there for 20 minutes before reading the result. Do not read the result after 40 minutes. Test is positive if both control and test lines appear, in which case you should contact NACA Information Center as soon as possible for advice on the next step. Test is negative if only control line appears. Test is invalid if there are no lines or only test line appear, or the white result background becomes red and should be repeated. Properly dispose all contents in the normal trash. Support NACA and the fight against HIV. Know your HIV status today.
I hope you were enlightened. Lack of respect for human rights fuels the spread and the impact of the disease, while at the same time, HIV undermines progress in the realization of human rights. Update segment is next. Keep watching.
Officials of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, led by the Acting Director, Special Duties, Alhaji Baidi Gajo, were in Kano State on a courtesy call to the Executive Governor, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. The representative of the Director General, NACA, in person of the Acting Director, Special Duties, Alhaji Baidi Gajo, stated the purpose of the visit.
We are here to present 4 ambulances. Not ordinary ambulances, but state-of-the-art, well-equipped ambulances, funded by the Global Fund, with the government and good people of Kano State to enhance and consolidate its health services. These ambulances, without even mentioning, you all know the importance of ambulances that can help in conveying people in need at the right time to the right place for healthcare services.
Receiving the delegation, the Deputy Governor, Dr. Nasiru Yusuf Gauna, thanked NACA for the gesture.
Kano State is very much appreciating, and we know what this agency took Kano State to be of. Definitely, the state government under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje has done a lot in terms of health.
Highlight of the occasion was the handover of keys and particulars of the ambulances to the state's Deputy Governor.
Sister! Where you dey rush dey go like this now? Take am easy now.
Na hospital I dey go to do HIV test.
Na everything you dey do HIV test. Before you carry belle, you do HIV test. Now you dey rush go do another HIV test. Wetin you dey find, you go see am o.
No be so, my sister. HIV test no be bad thing o. Na make I know my status so that no matter the result, my pikin no go get HIV.
HIV fit pass from mama to pikin.
Yes o, during pregnancy or labour or even when we dey breastfeed the pikin. Yes, and my husband dey road dey come sef, he go meet me for hospital. We go do the test together.
Hey, your husband na man he be. But wait o, una no dey fear. What if the result come out positive?
Fear wetin na? HIV no be death sen ten ce. And medicine don dey to take manage am. See, nowadays people wey get HIV, they live their life normal like everybody else.
You sure say I no go follow you go do my own so?
Wetin you dey wait for now? Come make we go jare. With quick action, we fit stop this HIV waka from mama to pikin. Go do your own HIV test today.
Much work has been done in the fight against HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. However, more work needs to be done. Together, we can end AIDS by the year 2030, even amidst coronavirus pandemic.
Educate yourself. This is crucial in the fight against HIV and AIDS.
Get tested. The only way to know for certain your status and stop the spread.
Get involved. People with HIV and AIDS need care and support.
Say no to stigma. Stigma prevents people from getting tested and those living with HIV from treatment.
Spread the word. The more we educate others about the disease, the better we can fight it.
Adhere to COVID-19 prevention protocols, wear a face mask, and maintain physical distance in public places.
Remember, only united can we defeat HIV to finish and end AIDS by the year 2030. Get tested today. Let's fight HIV to finish in Nigeria.
For more information on HIV and AIDS and related diseases, or to report suspected cases of stigma and discrimination, violence and human rights violation, please call the National Call Center toll-free on 6222. Reach us via social media at National Call Center or email callcenter@naca.gov.ng and visit our website on naca.gov.ng. Thanks for watching, and as always, continue to support the HIV response. Do not stigmatize or discriminate people living with HIV. Avoid indiscriminate sex. And lastly, know your status and take action. Till next week on The Last Mile of NACA, I am Adesu Welsi. Goodbye.